All right, so basically the way that this works, or the way that I kind of look at it, is I'm using these numbers, and I'm just basing it off of the previous open, high, low, close, right? So we have the open here, the high, low, and the close for this previous bar, right? I could even switch it here to make it. Okay, so this makes it a little bit easier here. And then basically what happens is the reason that you get this -4 is because the open is lower than the previous open. The high is lower than the previous high. The low is lower than the previous low. The close is lower than the previous close, right? So that kind of dictates the -4. Basically, the way that I'm looking at it is the market really ended here neutrally, opened here, and then went kind of bearish, right? A -4. So more momentum starts to build into the market during this situation. And then what that does, because we know that momentum traders are pretty much for the most part the last people in, because most of the people that trade momentum trading off lagging indicators, that gives us that opportunity to kind of track it and trade against it. Um, not that we can't trade with it, and the preferable thing is normally to trade with momentum. So we get a -4 here. This month opens up and trades above the previous settle. So we had a -4 on this, but we know one of our rules when we have a -4, or here's a +4 right here, is that we don't want to go in the opposite direction of the bar if above or below the settle, right? So for this -4 bar here, we don't want to be getting short above this level, right? This is where we are drawing kind of like a bearish conclusion. If we're below this level, the market's bearish and we want to be getting short. Um, Not that there's not opportunities for longs, right? Especially in day trading, it's a little bit different, but this is just a way to kind of track it. There's going to be times like here, right? You open, trade, here's the close. This market opens, never gets above the previous settlement, and trades down, and you would have been able to catch all of that following the, I guess, or just following the uh, the settle. If we switch over to a weekly, if we switch over to the weekly here, you can you're basically doing the same thing. So here's the close on this bar. We'll zoom in easier. But you get a close, you get this red bar, comes out of green bar before, red bar, and then you know that you don't really want to be getting short unless you're below this settle, right? Because what that would mean, especially like right here, you can kind of see it. Here's that settle, market gets above and then trades higher. And the reason being is, like we said, momentum traders are the last people in a lot of times. So they're the easiest people, or they're the first people out. And so if they get in and the momentum doesn't go their way right away, which weekly chart, if you're momentum trading, you get in, next week opens up, it gets below, you're short here, we get back above the settle, they're getting squeezed there, right? And then same idea here. This bar opens up, trades higher. The bar before was either a +2 or a -2. Looks like a +2. Really not important. We get a +4 here. And then next week opens up. We get below the close, and the market pretty much trades back inside balance for the rest of the week. So it really kind of saves us from these like big momentum moves where we get caught up in the price action a lot of times. Um, that's what momentum traders are doing. They're piling in, try to get that continuation. If it doesn't happen, the good ones are out quick. You know, maybe some of the slower ones take a little bit longer to get out, but it is has been, pretty helpful. If we switch over to the daily here, a lot of times on the daily, what it kind of indicates is a kind of a forming trend. So like typically when you get a bar of a color, right, a -4 or a +4, it's not the only one. Typically you start to see them, come one after another, or a couple of break and then a couple more. Get two here, get one red, and then I'll two red here. Depending upon the close, if it gets back below, get to a -4 to finish the day. Um, but that's basically it, and I'm just using it on all time frames. So I'm using it with my watch list, and what I've done is I have the monthly, the weekly, daily, 4 hour, 60 minute, 30 minute, 10 minute on +4s and -4s, +4, -4, and then the rest I just have a zero. That's not actually what they add up to, but that's just it's just easier for the code for this than to try to fucking do all that. So um, what I'm doing is I'm just basically kind of going to the monthly, be like, okay, TLT is a monthly bearish, XLF monthly bearish, and this is one actually I got. Oh no, where's the? I got a real estate one. So I'm on the monthly. I'm gonna switch back to the candlesticks. Just use them. I got the alert today on here for be looking for the short. Right, so we're -4, -4. You can see where the settle's at on the monthly. We could even mark it out right here. Just there. Definitely. I agree. Seems like it. But anyway, so I get here, I see the -4 on the monthly, um, and so I know kind of okay, this thing is not looking great, and switch over here to the weekly. Weekly right here, we're hitting a -4. It's kind of a divergence. You see how it's not filled, so it's actually must have opened out on a gap, right? Which is why I probably got that alert. I wasn't really gonna trade this, trade the um like the sectors much, but this doesn't move very much anyway. So if you were gonna trade it, I would just trade like a specific stock inside the sector. But anyway, so we got a weekly -4 here too. So we're starting to kind of build these -4s, two in a row. And then we switch over to the daily. And the way that I'm using this is not to intraday trade, is just to trade, right? So I'm not using this to like find me the key entry for the day. I'm looking for a good trade location, period, right? And so we can see we got a settle here, settle here. Well, there's an untouched settle here. So now that we've kind of broken the low, what I'd like to see is us return into this area and then try to look for the short there, right? That's where they should reoffer it. We have excess up here, still failed to fill these singles. And so that's kind of how I'm using it for the bigger situation. Of course, on the day that you execute the trade, if you have a -4 day like this, so let's say you're having this -4 day, you know that for sure you don't want to be in this position, or your trade location is not that great if you're above this settle. That makes sense. And that's, I mean, that's for the most part just how I'm using it. And then intraday, if you put it, on these 10, 30, 60, 4 hour, what it will do is if as they start to build, they'll add more here, or as they start to come off, they'll come off here, kind of revert to them. But if you looked like on the daily, this morning we were basically all the way down in the center of the watch list, only about a quarter of the way. It gives you an opportunity, like, okay, on the day, who's negative four still? You got the trend. Right when the trend goes down, typically the market goes up, which has pretty much happened today. AMD having a negative 4 day. A lot of the sectors here, oil getting the smackarooski of a lifetime, which is awesome. Now holding negative, RTY um, holding negative four. Um, you have JP Morgan here. Then ExxonMobil, Chevron, IWM, which is the Dow, Coca Cola. You have some of these hitting on the daily, starting to be like a bit more negative. This is something I added this weekend too. James here, I haven't showed him yet though. Sorry. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.